Hello, everybody. Thank you for downloading episode 82 of We Got This with Mark and Hal. The topic for this week's episode was suggested by Scott Bishop via email. Thank you, Scott. Sorry I could not come up with your name when we were recording, but hey, it's in there now, and isn't that what counts? Also, tickets still available for our October 9th show in New York City, live show. We've got John Hodgman, John DiMaggio, Jackson Public, Doc Hammer, Carter Parton Rogers, and just added Jean Grey. We're going to be recording 2 episodes. So for the price of 1 ticket, you get 2 live recorded episodes of We Got This, your favorite debate podcast. You better not be listening to any other podcasts behind our back. We'll find out about it. You can get your tickets at bit.ly/WeGotNYC. That's all lowercase. And now, without any further ado, episode 82 of We Got This with Mark and Hal.
Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all, Best Movie Trilogy.
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcasts should have a theme song. Podcasts should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it. You know what? You're right. We got this.
What is up, everybody? Hi, Hal. How are you?
Hello, Mark. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm very happy to see you once again. This is the second episode recently that we've gotten to record face to face.
Yes, the Tiny Box series.
That's right.
At Maximum Fun.
Where you and I are in a little shoebox at Maximum Fun, a delicious little shoebox at Maximum Fun. And we have a third in the shoebox with us today. Our very special guest, Nathan Fillion. How are you?
I'm really good, but not even room for shoes in this box. Now there's 3 of us.
No, it's very, very full up in here. You just threw both arms up like there was a cheer coming, so we're going to have to drop one in. Like you just walked out on stage in a recording booth.
A lot of my gags are visual, so you just describe them.
Great.
As I do them.
Listeners at home, Nathan Fillion has walked in and thrown his arms up in the air as if celebrating. You may now applaud.
So Nathan, today we are talking about movie trilogies. Who did this topic come from?
That is a great question. I don't have it in front of me, but I will mention it in the pre-roll. So you've already had your name checked.
Great.
Thank you for the suggestion. Although this person I got into an argument with, he submitted via email and wanted to know what is the best movie trilogy, and immediately threw out but if there are 30 movies in a series, then you just pick 3 of them. And I said, no, you certainly don't. That is a movie saga. So maybe that's what you're looking for. But it's a trilogy.
Yeah.
So
we've narrowed it down to trilogies.
Yes.
Okay.
And a trilogy, as we have determined, is 3 where the stories, people are playing the same characters and there's a continuation, there's a serialization, and the characters grow and change.
Does Star Wars count being that it was released in trilogies?
Yes. You're keeping Star Wars on the list.
Yes.
Let's talk movies, though, briefly before we get started. Are you a movie buff?
Now, what does it mean to be a movie buff? That I see all the greatest movies and the foreign films and the independent ones? Is that what that is?
You don't need to see that crap. Just
'cause I never
stuff
do.
that has the pop that you get popcorn for.
I didn't want anybody to know this about me. I finally saw Schindler's List 3-4 months ago.
And you're still very sad.
Yeah, well, obviously it's destroyed me. But that I let that one go so long, I don't want anybody to know those things about me. You haven't seen Schindler's List? How could it's a sort of a duty.
That's an annoying thing that a lot of people do, though. Generally, is if you haven't seen something that a lot of people have seen, and to be like, "Oh, you never saw?"
Yeah. Anytime you repeat the question.
Yeah.
I always look at it. I always try to approach it because I grew up going to movies all the time. My parents would take me to movies. And if somebody hasn't seen it, then I get excited for them because they get to see it rather than I think a lot of people
rather than the shaming.
Yeah. They want to be superior. Oh, you haven't seen Batman Returns? Oh my goodness. My good person. But no, it's it's really great. You'll love it. You should check it out and let me know when you do. Would love to talk to you about it. That's the appropriate. But if you do you enjoy movies?
I do. I do enjoy movies. I enjoy crappy movies.
Yeah.
Really?
There's some real crappy movies on this trilogy list.
I love some crappy movies.
What's your favorite crappy movie that you've seen lately?
Oh. Today I was doing some chores in my house, and I re-watched the good parts with superpowers of Hancock. only the good bits, you know?
Sure.
Only the funny bits, the good bits.
The big Charlize turnaround.
Yes, that one. Yeah,
the bank
absolutely.
robbery.
That one. Yeah.
There's some fun stuff. But yeah, not a great movie, but some fun stuff in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I like the fluff.
Especially if you're cleaning, that's when you wind up seeing movies. You're like, I don't want to invest anything in this.
Mhm.
I'm just going to turn on something that I've probably seen before.
I love rewatching movies. Shawshank Redemption.
Sure.
Yes.
One of the most rewatchable of all
I
time.
will stop everything I'm doing
Mhm.
and watch it, even though I have a DVR.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm not going to save it for later. It's like, plan's canceled. It's on.
Yeah, you don't sit down and actively decide on Shawshank Redemption.
You
It's
just say, oh, it's there.
yeah, whatever scene you're on. Oh, Brooks is at the halfway house. All right, I'll wait 5 minutes and then I'll start watching this.
Yeah.
I don't want to start sad.
And you own, like, everybody owns that movie.
Yeah.
For me, it's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory,
Mhm.
wherever that has begun. And sometimes I'll pull out the disc and be like, I really want to watch it. So I'm going to, but generally it's on TV so much, you just sit down and like I go into a trance. And
Where does it put you? Where does it bring you? In your mind, you want to live there? You want to be in that factory?
There's something about the like 1971 aesthetic of what is wacky, where all at once it looks completely fake, but also a place where I should have lived as a child.
The DP, the director of photography for Castle, who also directed a number of episodes, his name is Bill Rowe, at 14 years of age, and I have a photo to prove this, cleaned the Chocolate River on
What?
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
What?
His father, I believe, I don't know what he did, his father did for the production, but his father was in, and Bill has a golden ticket.
Whoa. So did he clean it like with a straw, just drank all the chocolate out of it?
Hip waders. It's brown liquid and it would foam at the corners and he had to go get all the foam out. There was some sort of chemical in there. And I don't know what that was.
That is, for a kid, for a 14-year-old, that's the greatest job imaginable.
I mean, I think on paper,
Yeah,
yes.
probably.
Yeah.
Not. When you're in retrospect, you're like, this is a classic film. He's like, Dad, why did you bring me to work today to stand in Crap River?
Yeah.
It's chocolate. No, it's not.
When you said he had a golden ticket, I lost my breath for a second.
Yeah.
Like just the imagine, like, and it's a movie, but like, I'm sure I could go to a candy store and get something that looks like it, but that's the real one.
That's what movies do.
I think his brother has one as well, or somebody else he knows has one, and it was mounted, and he tried to take it off the mounting and tore his. And so Bill's like, totally, I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to.
Bill Rowe, you leave that where it is.
That's right, Bill.
All right. So let's, without further ado, dig into some of these trilogies.
Very, very quickly. Sorry. A couple of other qualifiers we went through.
Okay.
If all three of the films had to be released in the theaters.
Right.
So there are some, like, you could take a movie like Cinderella, the animated film, that's had some sequels, but they were all either straight to video or TV.
Mhm.
We did not count that in any way, shape, or form.
Excellent.
Go ahead. Sorry. Just wanted to throw that out there.
So Starship Troopers is off the.
Sure.
That's right.
It would have been off the table immediately, but that's probably one you enjoy.
Certainly the first one, yeah. Then there was some direct-to-DVD sequels that they went and did.
None of the Sharknadoes.
Still
though they're
tripping.
now a trilogy.
Yeah.
Or a tetralogy.
Or the Shark Attack films, two of which I think they were all TV movies. Maybe the first one was in theaters, but if you love bad movies and you've not seen Shark Attack 3 Megalodon, it is an absolute work of failure. So the female lead from the first film returns to play a completely different character.
Oh.
We don't mention it.
Sure.
And it has, which I'm not going to repeat because this is a family podcast, but it has one of the filthiest lines I've ever heard in a film. And it comes completely out of the blue.
Say that line right now and we will bleep the entire sentence.
Okay.
Yeah.
After a day of searching for this giant shark that is eating boats, the hero and the heroine are on a dock together, and she's like, well, I'm going to get going. It's late. We're going to have to get some rest because they're going to go hunt it down the next day. And the guy goes, yeah, I'm tired too, but I'm feeling pretty wired. And then it smash cuts to a very uncomfortable sex scene. Very uncomfortable. Ladies and gentlemen in the listening audience, Nathan Fillion's face is frozen in an expression of abject
I
shock.
couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
Someone put that in a movie.
I mean, there are YouTube clips devoted to it. It is bizarre and just it takes 5 minutes later until you register what happened.
Sometimes, you're watching a really bad movie and you say, the guy who wrote this wants to be this dude.
Right.
Right? This is his fantasy, right? That's who he wants to be.
Have you guys ever seen Mad Dog Time? It was also released as
Seen
Trigger
it?
Happy.
I didn't see it.
This is a movie that was so bad it had one title in theaters and a different title when it came out on video
to try to trick a whole new
trick people. And it was filled with movie stars, and it was written and directed by Joey Bishop's son, Larry Bishop. And he wrote this terrible, terrible movie, but he cast himself in it. It's not a major role. It's just the toughest badass henchman role. Who winds up killing all of the characters. But it's just him, and he is not a cool guy at all. So he walks around this movie wearing sunglasses and like fingerless leather bicycle workout gloves.
Yeah, in case you didn't know he's tough, now you know.
Yeah, now you know that he's tough. And he just stands there with a John Voight in Anaconda fake angry look on his face through this whole movie. I highly recommend that while we're recommending terrible movie things. But we're not here to talk about terrible movies. We're here to talk about great movies.
Okay.
So I am going to, if I may, for our listeners, just because this is a pretty daunting episode, we have a lot of trilogies to cover. I'm going to break this down, with your gentlemen's permission into a few different categories.
Permission granted.
Thank you.
Yep.
We will pick a winner from each category, and then those winners will go head to head at the end.
Okay.
Great. So
Agreed?
we will begin with, let's begin with comedies. Because this is a big one. There are a lot of them in the category. We're going to miss some, I am sure, but these are a list that Hal and I have gone over before inviting Nathan in because we didn't want to subject him to such wonderful things as whether or not Big Mama's House 1, 2, and Like Father, Like Son actually count as a trilogy.
With Bow Wow, I think, as his son.
So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, Nathan Fillion's face just did a waterless spit take. So with that in mind, here are the list of comedy trilogies. Back to the Future, Toy Story, the Jersey Trilogy, that's Clerks, Mallrats, and Chasing Amy, the Cornetto Trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and At World's End, or The World's End, sorry. Naked Gun, 2.5 and 33 1/3, Madagascar, Night at the Museum, Oceans 11, 12, and 13, Friday, next Friday, Friday after next, Barbershop 1, 2, and 3, The Hangover 1, 2, and 3, and Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, Guantanamo Bay, and 3D Christmas. Also in that category, Beverly Hills Cop 1, 2, and 3. Gentlemen, does anything from there stand out to you as big contenders to go to the finals?
Back to the Future.
Of course.
Obviously.
Yeah, Back to the Future is Back to the Future 1 is my absolute favorite movie of all time.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the sequels are good.
Yeah. They're not bad.
Yeah.
They're not bad. They're good.
And the trilogy
That is the
overall,
opposite.
the characters change and learn over the course of the trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, I think, one of the hallmarks of a good set of 3 films is that there's each film has a journey within itself, but then overall they tell the story of a character coming to an ultimate realization or a change or just realizing they're fine as they are. And it meets all those requirements. The Toy Story trilogy.
So Toy Story kind of changed everything with being the first CGI feature-length film. The first full-length movie that was entirely animated with a computer. I watched the Pixar story, the story behind that film. If you knew it, it deserves so much more than it even has being a fantastic Oscar-winning movie.
Yeah.
That's a real good one too.
It turned out, for the first computer animated movie to turn out to be as good as it was too. But I guess that's bound to happen. Maybe that's in general why I think a lot of animated movies do so well in their storytelling is because so much time and thought has been put into it. There's so many opportunities for a creative team. There's so many opportunities for a creative team to go, wait a minute, let's clarify this, or what if this, and tweak things along the way. If it's a movie that you're just rattling off in 2 weeks, live action film,
right?
There's a lot more opportunities for screwing up.
They're telling the story one pixel at a time.
Mm-hmm. And very well. So,
I also want to point out in that trilogy, I think all 3 films are fantastic. It's hard to make 3 4-star movies, and I think those are 3 4-star movies. I really do.
And I like it when a trilogy loops back around to the beginning. Obviously, Back to the Future is going to do that because it's a time travel movie. But I like at the end of Toy Story 3, I defy anyone to watch the end of that movie when Andy is passing his toys along to a next generation of child, and not cry when you see that, because boy, that is, yeah.
Very powerful stuff.
So anything
sort of like
else
how you
popping out
feel
here?
with the 3 Naked Gun movies, the way you cry when Frank Drebin tears his suit in half.
That's not true. That's
No,
not true. We don't.
I
Did
do-
you?
we don't?
We don't. Did you really cry?
No. I just wanted everybody to think I'm sensitive.
Oh.
I cried when OJ did that thing in those 3 movies.
Murdered people?
Because, like, it is weird to think about that one of the trilogies on this, OJ was in all 3 of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I like Naked Gun style, the airplane style.
Yeah, the
broad
Zucker,
humor
Abrams
stuff.
Zucker style movies.
I like it when it's done really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
It can't entertain me. Top Secret, my favorite.
Oh,
I was
of all
about to
time.
talk about that.
Bless.
My
So
favorite
great.
of all time. So when I see that kind of humor done really well, like i.e. Top Secret and Naked Gun, I don't think as well.
Naked Gun 30 and 3 1/3
I don't-
clearly did
I don't
not.
remember the stuff from those. There's 3
Yeah.
movies. I don't remember any of them.
And
Do you think that,
Bless you.
Were you saying that you didn't like even the original Naked Gun?
I really didn't.
Did you like Police Squad?
Yeah, I sure did. I sure
Okay.
did, because
Yeah.
there was nothing like it.
It was better.
that I knew about. I was young, and I was like, "What's this going on?" The thing they do where they pause at the end, where they just
Yes.
freeze, but
Still
they're still
pouring
pouring
the coffee.
Exactly. But yeah, those movies didn't affect me. They're not in my heart. They're not in my consciousness. I don't make references to them.
Mm-hmm.
What about the
Nathan shakes his head sadly.
And Nathan is self-narrating his physical moves.
for those of you at home in the listening audience? He just took another drink of water. The Jersey trilogy. That's one where I always think of them as 3 different films. And then you remember they're all telling the same stories. It's a shared universe.
I didn't really ever put those together. I never really.
Yeah,
thought about
I
that.
always thought of them as individual movies as well.
So are they a trilogy? Are they like officially?
Hal seems to think so. He
no,
wouldn't let
they-
me cross it off.
They are. There are characters in Clerks that come back in Mallrats. The story that's told at the beginning of Chasing Amy, which I think is in Chasing Amy. No, I'm sorry. At the beginning of Mallrats, when they talk about the girl who had the aneurysm. No, it was Clerks. They talk about a girl having an aneurysm swimming in a pool.
Mm-hmm.
And that girl appears in either Mallrats or Chasing Amy as a character. Like, we get to see these characters at different points in time. So I don't know that it holds up. It's hard to take out either Back to the Future or Toy Story, but it's one that's worth talking about. And Cornetto is another one where they really don't share anything. There are no characters, I don't think, that appear in all of them except for a rapper, a Cornetto ice cream rapper. But
Cornetto is, for those who don't remember from the very beginning, that's the Simon Pegg trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and World's End.
yeah, and that's a trilogy where for me, it is an overall story, but it's more about the creative process of these guys have gotten together and they're going to make 3 specific genre spoofs.
Mm-hmm.
And there are elements that they share in the accuracy and the way they do it and sort of the kind of stories that they tell, even though they're different genres. So I'm willing to let it go.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't feel like a trilogy. It feels like a box set.
And they're playing different characters, which
Yeah.
we said
Yes.
was one of the.
yeah.
Nathan,
True.
I told you, Hal wouldn't let me eliminate
I
that
think
one.
it's interesting to put them together and think of them as a group.
Mhm.
Even as if I was to consider them a trilogy, let's do that. Let's consider them a trilogy.
Mhm.
I love those movies.
They're great.
I really do. None of them have my heart the way Back to the Future does.
Yeah.
Back to the Future changed
Back to the
everything
Future is
for me.
going to win this category.
Yep.
And
clearly.
I think the Jersey trilogy. How old are you guys?
37.
39.
Okay, I think it kind of missed my. I'm 45.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I thought you were older than me. I'm just kidding.
Just so everybody
did
knows,
I.
listening audience, he was pointing at Mark, not Hal. Mark, not Hal.
I'm the youngest in this room. Screw you both.
Hard
I'm just the
living.
one that went gray youngest.
Get off our lawn.
I don't know if I missed the cultural significance of the Jersey movies because of the age I was at the time. They just didn't resonate with me. Everybody was crazy about them, I know. I think that's a boat I missed. I'm a terrible guest for this episode.
When did
No,
you?
no, that's a good point though.
You are the everyman.
Because it shouldn't, I think a well-made trilogy, the way we're talking about it here, is something that will appeal to anyone. And it was very like zeitgeisty when Clerks came out. And I remember I saw them in college a couple of years after the they had originally come out. So Chasing Amy, I think, was the first one I went and saw in the theater. But then I was the right age to go, this is really good. Like the filthy, and they're talking about Star Wars. For some reason it connected with me. And I don't know if depending on where you were a couple years older than me. So it would make sense that would have just missed you. And it might not hold up the same way for you that it does for me, which would sort of eliminate it just sort of on the face of it.
But I can hum the theme to Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Please.
Can't you? Can't all you?
Of course.
I feel like whatever trilogy wins, we're going to be able to hum the theme to. There's a lot of hummable trilogy.
Right?
Yeah.
There we go.
We'll get to him later.
All right.
And then, of course, there's one. I mean, do we want to talk about the one film that's getting automatic buy to the finals?
Oh, yes.
Godfather.
Well done.
Yeah. But not much of a comedy.
No.
Okay.
No. This is
Gotcha.
Okay.
I don't know. When he's got that orange in his mouth, Marlon Brando, and he's like,
well, now that you mention that, Hal,
Hilarious.
this is a good time to say what our categories are.
Sure.
We have Godfather, its own category, gets an automatic bye to the finals. Superhero, comedy, sci-fi, fantasy, horror, thriller, suspense, and action, adventure, western.
Gotcha.
So let's move from comedy to, so let's go superhero movies. And the superhero movie trilogies that we have on this list are Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, X-Men, X2, and The Last Stand. Again, these are, there have been more X-Men movies made, but we have them as two different trilogies in this.
much like Star Wars.
Right. Then the second of them is First Class, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse. Iron Man 1, 2, and 3, Captain America, First Avenger, Winter Soldier, and Civil War, and the Dark Knight trilogy. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. So those are the superhero trilogies. Who comes out on top? Who's your first one that pops into your mind as, I mean, they're all great. There's a lot of great stuff in there.
There's a lot of good stuff in there. I think for me, personally, the clear winner, Captain America trilogy.
Thank you.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
I
100% agree.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You were what?
I'm a guy that leans toward the Christopher Nolan, the Batman trilogy.
Loved them.
They're great.
Loved them.
And we had talked about this before with, because Captain America appears in so many, does that muddy this particular trilogy that it's part of this whole Marvel creative universe?
No. If I may, let me put you at ease. First of all, Nathan's answer is sufficient.
Yeah. No.
But, I would say that those three films and the Iron Man films as well, this is what's so brilliant about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is you can watch all 800 movies, which are all great, including the one in which Nathan appears.
Yeah.
Which one are you in?
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians. Ah, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And according to some rumors, maybe others, but the point being, if you watch the three Captain America films, you get an arc of that character where he starts as a product of his time and a soldier who, what he's being told to do and what he feels is right to do are the exact same. In the second film, he learns that he needs to sort of be his own man and that it's okay to question and fight authority. By the end of 3, he's an outlaw. That's a great arc for that character.
Yeah, right?
And the other films inform it and are great, but you can enjoy those 3 movies on their own, I would say.
Yeah.
But if it's,
get the same journey.
if it's about that arc of the character, in Batman Begins, Batman is brooding and fighting, and by Dark Knight Rises, he's brooding and fighting.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
Okay. Nathan, thoughts?
DC, I think of all the DC superhero movies, I think the Batman trilogy has been the best. The Chris Nolan Batman trilogy has been the best. Whenever a character is plucked out and replaced with someone else, I automatically infer there's been a problem somehow. There's a wasn't right, wasn't good. We got to fix that part of it before we can move on.
You mean that when an actor is replaced?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, and they took out I'm blanking on the character's name. The lawyer that he loves so much. The girl, the love interest.
Yes. Whose name is also escaped. Rachel Dawes.
And they Rachel Dawes, and they replaced her with Maggie Gyllenhaal, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I feel like I mean, look, I'm on board with the Captain America trilogy coming out of this, the victor, because I am such a bigger fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe than what
You're doing a great job.
DC is doing cool stuff, but this Marvel, we are living in a superhero movie era like no other.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, but separate. We're not including Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 in the Marvel Cinematic Universe
because they're the
that's
Sony
Sony.
versions.
That's a Sony. So that's another kind of just missing the mark. I did like the second.
Spider-Man 2 may be the best superhero movie ever.
It was really super good. I don't know about the best, but
as far as well, I like a love story, and the love story in that between him and Mary Jane is pretty perfect.
I finally saw some spider action, which kind of really escaped the first movie. You're kind of just dying and waiting for him to be Spider something.
Yes.
Do something spidery. He's the battles he had with Dr. Octopus were imaginative, amazing,
Super fun.
super quick, but not so quick, not like a Transformers where so much is going on screen you have no idea where to look.
Yes.
Yeah, Transformers movies are just metal moving around really fast.
What a waste.
I usually like to sit close to a screen to immerse myself. When I would go see a Transformers movie, I'd have to sit in the back of the theater.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. There's so much there's literally too much going on.
Can I tell you though, when there was a trailer that got me really excited about a Transformers movie, and then it didn't turn out to be what I hoped it was, which, the trailer began in the 60s. And I thought, oh my God, you guys, Transformers period piece, old 50s cars. And like, please do that. The Mr. Transformerman, who makes those?
You
Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael Bay, AKA Michael Transformerman.
Michael Transformerman.
Bay.
Yeah. All right. So, Marvel Cinematic Universe is doing everything right. And Captain America is going to come out of superheroes on top. Yes,
they really are. I mean, and you could even call Civil War the next Avengers movie. I know it's a Captain America movie, but there are so many heroes in it. Yeah. And try outside of Avengers and Avengers: Age of Ultron, I've never seen that kind of artistry where so many characters are served well.
They really are. Yeah, they do a great job.
I saw that movie 4 times the opening weekend. I went over and over again, every format. And in the airport fight, there comes a time where both sides line up and they run at each other to fight. And every time you watch it, you can look at a different point on the screen and see something different. So immediately you're drawn to Iron Man, who's descending on Captain America, who puts his shield up. But what you don't see is Spider-Man doing a flip and throwing webs out. And you don't see Ant-Man jumping up in the air and shrinking and you just miss. There's so much going on and they fill the screen so beautifully. It's like watching ballet. And that's what they built to. And their action was great all along. There were good fights in in the first Avenger where he's sort of learning to use his powers. And there are great fights in Winter Soldier where he's fighting with Bucky. I mean, it's just, and they keep building it. And it's all in the daylight, DC.
Well, it's
sundown. See everything. Yeah.
There's something great too about it where I once heard, and I loved this, like regardless of what is in what, where, when, and why of a story are, it always comes back to the who and the relationships. And that's what those movies do so well. His relationship with Bucky, in, Civil War is his relationship with, Iron Man and with Bucky. And, all of that one wins. Fine.
Okay.
I'm completely okay with that win.
Yeah, I think everybody is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, we weren't fighting.
It feels like we're fighting right now.
You guys, all I know
Why are we fighting so much?
All I know is that the Jersey Trilogy is going to win this whole thing.
the Dark Horse.
That's right. No, you already eliminated the Dark Horse Rises.
Everybody knows.
Am I getting that wrong?
I would love to see a Dark Horse series.
Yeah. Artax comes back out of the swamp of sadness.
They throw up the signal. You just hear like.
All right. Do we need to jump onto our commercial break or can we keep going with this?
Let's take a quick early commercial break and hear about some of the other great podcasts on the Maximum Fun Network. We'll be right back.
What's the deal with Brexit? Have you seen Happy Valley yet?
How do British people pronounce Edinburgh, Leicester, or Norwich?
Not like that.
Are you tired of getting your world news from reliable sources, often with no puns or sexual innuendo?
Why was there a butcher's hat haunting Coronation Street?
What's Coronation Street, and why is Dave Holmes obsessed with it?
International Waters pairs a team of comedians in LA against a team of comedians in London in a pop culture battle royale. Join us once a fortnight to hear the best comedians in the world trade jokes and stories and maybe even learn something at the same time. International Waters with me, Dave Holmes. Find it at MaximumFun.org or wherever you download podcasts.
Good news, everyone. There are still a few tickets remaining for the London Podcast Festival, September 22nd through 26th. We've just announced a dazzling new addition to the Bullseye lineup. Sharon Horgan, creator and star of the hit shows Pulling and Catastrophe, as well as a new show, Divorce, which launches soon on HBO. Comedian Josie Long, Veep creator Armando Iannucci, and musician Romare round out the Bullseye lineup. But the fun doesn't stop there, friends. International Waters and Judge John Hodgman tickets are still available too. Do not sleep on this. Feast your eyes on the juicy full lineup and grab your tickets right now at MaximumFun.org.
And we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back.
We're back.
And we're back.
Guys, are we back yet?
Can we be back?
We're back.
Yes.
Great.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Your dreams are your ticket out.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Got it. All right.
All right. So we're moving on now to our next category of film, and that is science fiction and fantasy. Here are the trilogies.
Are you familiar with the genre?
I've dabbled.
Okay.
Great.
Fair enough. Oh, I have to say, this is weird, but somebody sent me, there was like a loot. So my day job, we have loot crates that come in. And in one of the loot crates was an action figure of you. So
not the first time, too.
Among the many toys is the reaction figure of Nathan Fillion. I know that it's Mal.
Is it Mal or who? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know which character you have. How many different characters have you played that have become toys?
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
4.
The big 3, right?
4. Coming on 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, the fifth one, it sounds like, or you can't tell us what it is.
It's yet to come out.
Ooh.
Oh, my
Very
goodness.
exciting. I was going to ask, do you have to recuse yourself from any of these trilogies?
Yep. No.
Okay. I didn't know if we had any yet that you were like, yeah, I can't comment on.
Mark,
I can't divulge.
he played Aragorn. Jeez.
Wait, what?
I auditioned for one of those.
Did you did?
What was Aragorn's brother's name? Remember the one that his dad sent off to die?
Boromir.
Tom?
I had.
No.
The younger one at the White Castle, the big white. Obviously, I'm doing great.
Yes, I know that.
I mean, I couldn't even.
He got dragged back by his horse.
Yeah.
And his dad went nuts.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Boromir was the one who died out.
Boromir was his friend from the original trilogy.
Right. He's the one who died, and they brought back his horn.
Right.
And this other son, the not so loved son, I auditioned for that role.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm sorry for your loss.
I shouldn't have done an Australian accent. But anyway. Okay.
Good day, mates. We're going to fight some orcs.
Especially because you were in New Zealand.
You one of those hobbits.
All right.
Sir, can you take off the fake beard? It's obscuring your...
I glued it on.
You guys got the solvent for crazy glue in there?
Crazy's right.
All right. Here are our sci-fi fantasy trilogies. The original Star Wars trilogy, the prequel Star Wars trilogy, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, The Matrix, Reloaded and Revolutions, Alien, Aliens, and Alien Cubed, and Men in Black. Those are not many, but formidable all. I think it's pretty obvious there are two that jump to the top of that. The original Star Wars trilogy and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There's some other fantastic movies on this list, but where the first one is amazing. And in the case of the Alien trilogy, the second one, I'll say even better than the first.
Aliens
which is incredibly rare.
Yes.
Again, another movie, I'll drop everything I'm doing to watch it on TV.
To watch Aliens.
Yeah,
sure.
And it happened to me about, I don't know how many years ago. Under 5 years ago, I was watching Aliens and I saw a scene I'd never seen before.
Was it a particularly new
the sentry
cut,
guns?
or was
The
it...
sentry guns.
Yes, that was added in the director's cut.
I had never seen the director's cut. Imagine my joy watching a movie I absolutely love and getting just a little extra piece.
It's like putting on your favorite jacket and finding $100 bill in the pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. That says, don't forget to give this to, but the guy has died. So it's not yours.
Oh, I hope that you hadn't worn that jacket recently. That it had been at least a decade.
That's never happened to you guys? Oh, it happens to me all the time.
I've never written on money that I owe to somebody because then I can forget.
Yeah. And then also bills keep getting passed around. And someone eventually is going to get handed that bill as change for purchasing something and be like, well, I guess this bill says I have to give it to Hal Loveland, so here you go.
Boom.
Yeah. So out of The Matrix is another one where the first film was sort of groundbreaking.
I want to know what he's buying that he gets $100 for change.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Just anyway, okay, that's aside. We'll get on that later.
Shelby Cobra, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, he paid with $1,000 bill.
A couple of them.
Yeah.
2.
You were going to say?
$2,000. Oh, I was going to say The Matrix. Really enjoyed the first movie.
Yep.
And I was very excited for the sequel. And then I saw it. And then I realized there was a third one. And I went, okay, well, I guess I'll watch all 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it wore me down. And there were way diminishing returns.
The first movie was one of those groundbreaking, it changes everything.
Brilliant.
I remember I wanted to know what The Matrix was.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is The Matrix?
And then you
no one
found
knew,
out.
and I wanted to know. And when I found out, I was not disappointed. I was not disappointed in anything about that movie.
The second and third movies just confused me. And I'm pretty good at following along with the plot of a science fiction movie.
Yeah.
Not that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That architect monologue.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right, take a pee first, and then get your pad and paper out and start taking notes because there's going to be a flow chart. You gotta...
Ben Stein was great in that role. So it's between Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. Yes, the original Star Wars trilogy, episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, the prequels are, in my opinion, hot garbage.
I'll say yes.
Do we pull one of them out now and then save one of them later?
I don't know. I may have another one.
Okay, you have another one to save?
I have another one in my mind that I would throw up to save, so I wouldn't bring up the save just yet.
All right. So let's look at these then.
Yeah.
Did they release Return of the King as one movie or two? One movie. Okay. So it is officially a trilogy.
It won the
Academy Award.
Picture.
That's
yeah.
right.
It did?
It did. It was the one that won in 2003.
I really enjoyed how the battles... there was a hillside battle against orcs in the first movie. There's the keep in the crag of those mountains in the second movie, and it obviously amped it up. And then that giant open field, huge, massive battle in the third.
Yeah,
there was a look that the king gave on the ramparts of his little mountain keep, where he said, "This is all you have. This is all you can throw at me, Saruman." Mm-hmm. And they come up and they light that bomb and boom, they blow up the wall. And the look on his face was that of he had no idea how to process what he just saw. The third movie, they're smashing through those troops with their horses. They're doing really great job. He turns around, his face drops again in much the same way. And I thought, what's he seeing? I know this look. Yeah. What is he seeing? Because it's bad news, whatever it is. And you turn and it's the Olifants. It's this giant elephant creatures of war that are smashed. I mean, you got horses, big deal.
Yeah.
That is one of the great, and there's got to be a supercut on the internet of it somewhere. One of the greatest expressions is comeuppance. A villain, that last shot before a villain gets there.
I'm doing it.
Visual jokes.
Ladies and
Fillion is doing
gentlemen,
visual
the
jokes.
listening audience.
That was,
that moment before, what's the Bond movie where the satellite falls on him?
Is that Moonraker?
Where they're inside the giant satellite, or was it GoldenEye? It was one of them. So there's a Bond villain that's about to get clearly just like smashed, shot, and exploded simultaneously. Mm-hmm. And it's just that look. It's when action movie villains make a Wile E. Coyote holding a sign face.
So the tiny umbrella.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I feel like. That's what that look when he sees the Olifants. That's what that book in the battle, or that's what that look in the battle is. And I love that so much.
So then, look, I think all three of those movies are great. Mm-hmm. I had a problem with Return of the King that maybe I feel like is sort of a common problem, is that it ends like 3 or 4 times. Where I felt like, oh, this is a good resolution. And then there was another scene was like,
that was
okay.
Tolkien's publisher saying that he had to pad the book, add a little more.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's because at that point, I know what you mean as far as the movie goes and endings go, but it honored the book in that in that much. It didn't seem like too many endings in the book, did it? Because you have the thickness of the book when you're reading it. You know it's not over yet. What happens to them? How does he go back? You know, there's all.
I have an admission that is similar to your admission about not having seen Schindler's List, which is I have
never
not
read the book.
I've not read those books. I've read The Hobbit. I did not read the Lord of the Rings
That's
books.
okay. I don't think anyone's going to chastise you for that.
Certainly not on the internet.
No. They're not fans of Tolkien.
No, not at all. Not at all. But I mean, I enjoy all those films. It makes it hard to choose the original Star Wars films, but those have such a deep personal hold on me that it's really hard to separate myself from them, especially Empire.
And that's another thing. That's another game changer. That movie, the Star Wars, the very first Star Wars, forever changed the way we do sci-fi. Space was no longer green and purple lights and everything brand new and shiny. Things weren't all shiny anymore. Everything was dirty and old and not working, and people were poor and just trying to get by, and it was just more of the same. Yeah. And I liked it.
Yeah, they're excellent movies.
And a light sword? What? I mean, that concept is universal now. The idea of an energy sword is completely universal.
Yeah.
But was that the first?
I would imagine so.
That's the first I can think of.
I can't remember anything before that. Thundar the Barbarian. I know he had an energy sword, but I think that was after Star Wars. I'm pretty sure.
So one of these has to come out of here on top. I feel like, for me, Star Wars is brilliant and, like you said, a game changer and nostalgic. I think the story and the scripts are better in Lord of the Rings.
Is it the Ewoks? It's really the Ewoks.
It's the Ewoks,
right?
It's man. The Ewoks. That whole thing is going to shake that whole. It shakes the foundations.
It's tough.
Yeah. You know what? I have to agree with you guys. It breaks my heart.
Yeah.
And maybe Star Wars comes back as a wild card. Who knows? But for now, I think it's hard to argue, because every time the other thing with the Lord of the Rings films, especially seeing them fresh, when I saw Fellowship, I was like, oh, that's going to win Best Picture. And then it lost. And then I saw Two Towers. I was like, that's going to win Best Picture. It was almost like they held off going, we'll give it to the third one. We know it's going to be great. And it was great.
They gave it to the trilogy.
Yeah.
Everybody knew it.
I mean, it's so good. It's so good. All right.
It's good storytelling.
It is. It is really good storytelling.
And and there was I dislike when I feel I'm watching a commercial. And to me, Return of the Jedi was about, hey kids, why don't you buy some toys?
Right. Look how many characters are here.
Look at these little fuzzy guys. Don't you like those guys? We're going to make it. And then they made a cereal, and then they made a cartoon, and then they made lunchboxes. And then I was like,
And those TV movies, Battle for Endor.
Oh, that's right.
Endor, I remember that, yeah.
And the other one, the name of what
The Ewok Adventure.
Ewok Adventure.
Well, they also made a Chewbacca thing way back in the day.
Are you talking about the holiday special?
Holiday special. That was ages
with
and
the
ages
severely underbitten Grandpa Baca.
His father was, I believe, was Itchy. His son was Lumpy. I may have those mixed up, but his wife was Mala for short.
I just remember seeing them on TV going, it's not even Star Wars, and they're on TV. and I remember we couldn't walk away from the TV, because if you did, you'd miss something. And I was young when that happened.
I was introduced to that just this year. I had never seen the Star Wars holiday special until this year. And, as a person who came to it as an adult, in 2015, it is objectively, subjectively, and permanently terrible.
Oh, yeah.
But watching B. Arthur and Harvey Korman flirt with each other is pretty amazing.
Priceless.
Yeah.
It's priceless.
So coming out of this round,
Lordship, the rings.
Lord of the Rings trilogy.
The rings are three of the rings.
Them kooky rings.
All right. All right. Let's move on to horror, thriller, and suspense.
All right.
These are the movies in that category: Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead; Evil Dead 1, 2, and Army of Darkness; Scream 1, 2, and 3. The first three, I may call baloney on that because they made more of them, and well, we'll get to that. The Hannibal Lecter trilogy: Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, and Red Dragon; and the Dan Brown trilogy, Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons, and the upcoming Inferno.
Now, before all of you listeners start tweeting and emailing us, the Jason Friday the 13th films don't count. There are a million of them. And there are a ton of Halloween films and a ton of Nightmare on Elm Street films. There are a ton of them. Too many. That you can't just pull 3 films out of there and call it a trilogy.
But how is Scream 1, 2, and 3 a trilogy?
Yeah.
Is it because of the whole Scott Foley loops back around to the beginning of it and
that's
it's done?
That's a complete
All right.
story. They made another one. There are a lot of cases where there's a trilogy, and we'll come to the most classic example of that in the next category, where there are 3 great films that tell a good sort of complete story, and then they went back and made another one, and you were either excited about it or weren't so happy, but either way, you probably weren't satisfied by what you saw when it came out into theaters. So I consider that one a trilogy. I don't know if it's the one that comes out. I like the first 2 Screams a lot. The third one for me is okay. I don't know if it was too much time passed or they just had sort of run out of places to take it, but it did feel like they were trying to close the loop real intentionally.
Well, after the first one where you put your finger on the fact that this is how horror movies work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was a fantastic engine for that movie.
Yeah.
It introduced me to meta. That was sort of my first foray into meta.
Yes, this self-awareness of, I enjoyed that. I really liked it. But once it's been played, that's like a joke you try to play 3 times.
Right. Then it's then it just becomes, now you have to just continually tell this story. And is the story as compelling as the self-awareness was?
Exactly.
Yeah, it gets stretched a little bit in the sequel where they make it about how sequels never work. So you go, okay, well, I'll give you a pass on this one. And they did a decent job. But by the time the third one came around, it just
I sure did love the first. I sure did love it.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't a fan. I didn't go out chasing horror movies. That one, I loved it.
So you're not a big horror film person in general?
Not in general. I've been watching more scary movies lately than ever.
Okay.
Do you watch, is it because of is it the the ones that have a million sequels, or are you a fan of, like the standalone horror films? Your Cabin in the Woods, your,
yeah, I think standalones are
The Strangers
are good for me. That tends to be what I watch. I know there was more, Ring. There was more than one
Ring. A bunch of those.
I saw the first one. I didn't bother with the others. I just don't chase horror like I do other films. But I've seen some real scary movies.
What's your favorite scary movie?
There was a movie when I was a kid, The Changeling.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember the name of the actor. God, he's a famous old guy, and his wife and child were killed. You had to kind of change his life. They put him in an old house to be a professor at some college, and the house was haunted by a little boy, and spooky things were happening. He had a seance, and he recorded on a big reel-to-reel. Remember those?
Yeah.
Spooky things happen at the seance, but nothing auditory. And later on, he's listening to the seance just because he's trying to figure out this mystery, right? And the woman who's the medium is drawing. This is too long a story, isn't it? How much time you got?
No.
She's scrawling on a page and shouting out, questions. What is your name? And and then she'll write the answer. So it's not an auditory thing. But in the tape, you hear a voice say, "Michael." Ooh, and he goes, "What the?" And he stops it and rewinds it. "What is your name?" "Michael." It's louder. And he stops it, rewinds it, and plays it again. "What is your name?" "Michael." And it gets louder every time. I'm going, stop rewinding it. I remember being so terrified every time. It affects me. I was and it's not a gory movie. It's very suspenseful and not a lot of things happen. If you were to watch it, it's a very old movie and you'd go, come on, man. But that's things
that they're the scary moments. It was Stephen King when he was talking about, The Strangers. He said you can build a $200 million monster, but it's still not as scary as Liv Tyler trying to squeeze under a bed that she doesn't fit under. Like, that kind of stuff is, the human moments are the scariest ones.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Can I be honest with this category, fellas? Nothing jumps out at me from this.
Really?
Yeah, I liked the Scream movies. The Evil Dead movies are fun.
That's the one that jumped out for me.
Evil Dead is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
if any of them is gonna,
they really got my heart. Those ones.
All I'm thinking now is I'm like, I read off that list and I went, man, I wish Star Wars was on this list. Then we could bring it to the finals. But if Evil Dead is, come on, Ashes. one of the coolest characters.
Absolutely.
To come out of cinema.
When that happened, I didn't know what Bruce Campbell was doing. I didn't understand what was happening.
What is this actor doing?
What is going on in front of me? It certainly wasn't like the first Evil Dead, obviously, but but some weird kind of story hiccups. Because he was there in the first one. Someone was there.
Right.
It's the same cabin. It's the. I want to say he was in the first one.
Am
I wrong?
Bruce Campbell was in the first one?
Yeah. I think.
So there's some sort of
when it was like a real horror movie, and they were like, "Oh, Bruce Campbell is doing this stuff.
Yeah,
let's make it about that."
Mm-hmm. Then the second movie, there's a bit of a hiccup. I don't know what the connection is with the two movies, except it's the same cabin, but just obviously a different story, same conceit, but obviously a different.
He's in that one as well.
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell's in that
one. Oh my God, he explodes in that one. And that's all about him and everything he can do. And that's what made that guy.
When Army of Darkness came out in theaters, I wanted to see it so badly. It was 1993, and I went with my best friend John, and we showed up, and it was I think it was an R-rated movie. So because we were both, I think, like, I was 17, my best friend John was 16, so he had not yet turned 17. So we wound up seeing the other movie that was playing at the same time, which was just, all right, we'll go see it, which was Aladdin. And I've never been happier to be turned away from a movie. I did get to see Army of Darkness later and loved it, but I got to see Aladdin in the theater because I couldn't see Army of Darkness.
I remember seeing that in the theater. That was good.
Yeah, Disney had a killer run. I mean, 91 or 89, Little Mermaid on. That was a great little run they had there.
So we're taking the Evil Dead trilogy out of horror.
With much excitement.
Yes.
That's a pretty good one.
Was it 93 or 94?
Maybe it was 94. Oh, no, it had to be 94 because that's when I turned 17. Math, it's fun for everyone.
Smart, I just looked.
All right, let's move on to action, adventure, and westerns. Here is the list. The Indiana Jones trilogy. We are not including Kingdom of the Crystal Skull because it came out 15 years later and was a different style, a different genre.
I'm okay
altogether.
With that. Yeah.
Then Die Hard, Die Harder, and Die Hard with a Vengeance. Mad Max, The Road Warrior, and Beyond Thunderdome. The Mariachi trilogy, El Mariachi Desperado and Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Lethal Weapon 1, 2, and 3. Born Identity, Supremacy, and Ultimatum. Taken 1, 2, and 3. Rush Hour 1, 2, and 3. Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, Dead Man's Chest, and At World's End. The Mummy 1, 2, and 3. The Brendan Fraser versions. Gentlemen, thoughts?
I have two that stand out to me.
Uh-huh.
One is Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Of course.
And the other is Pirates of the Caribbean.
What?
I know.
I was going to say the same thing.
I know.
This is the story. Did you just Bolton us?
I just did. Did
you bolt roll
I was
us?
being Hal. I wish that Temple of Doom never happened.
Really?
I liked Temple of Doom. I know
Shut your mouth. Shut your dirty mouth.
Look, even Steven Spielberg said the only good thing to come out of that movie was his relationship.
Which is really sweet.
Yeah.
There were some bits in it I really liked, but it looks like they were just trying to hammer on the adventure and bigger budget kind of bigger set pieces. The roller coaster mine cart
is silly.
Yeah.
But the entire opening sequence up until he slams the door on that plane that's revealed to be like Lauche Airlines.
To the tune of Anything Goes?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty great opener.
And it was cut. It was supposedly like the gong.
Anything goes.
There you go.
But the gong was supposedly cut out of Raiders. It was something they wanted to put in there, so Spielberg put it in the second movie.
Oh, that's great.
So even the thing that probably people love the most about that film was supposed to be in Raiders of the Lost Ark anyway.
Also, that movie did introduce the reaching into your chest and pulling out your still beating heart to a lot of audiences. That was...
Oh, yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Improbable?
All right, so
unlikely.
Maybe... I just remember my brother in the backseat of the car growing up would drive me crazy. He would just...
Oh, Nomsy boy, oh, Nomsy boy, oh, Nomsy boy, oh, Nomsy boy.
He would hold up the hand and do that.
Which, by the way, is the chant.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not a fan.
That is the chant that the guy getting attacked would do, because my brother would hold up his hand and go, Kalima. And I'd do the... Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, I got it. Oh, I got it backwards.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not calling you out.
But no, it's still, he got it.
You went up to it. Well done.
No, we did it together.
I mean, I'm the guest. I don't know why you would.
Yeah, I don't know why we would do that.
Because this is my house.
Yeah.
My house.
Do the dishes.
Die Hard, my favorite Christmas movie of all time.
Sure.
So fantastic.
When people talk about Christmas movies,
Ho, 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 now I have a machine gun.
Yes.
They always forget Die Hard.
Yeah. We did our best Christmas movie episode, and we gave a shout out to Die Hard.
There.
You
When he
want a Christmas miracle, I give you the FBI.
it's so fantastic. That's another one. If it's on,
yeah,
you're gonna watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another one where the villain gives the look. It's Hans Gruber off the side of the building.
Yeah.
Yes.
As he's falling. And also, you keep mentioning the Game Changers. That one changed the game. A whole genre was born out of Die Hard in a blank or Die Hard on a blank.
Die Hard at a hockey rink. Die Hard on a plane.
Yeah.
Die Hard.
Exactly.
And I was watching a show called The Blockbuster Imperative, talking about huge blockbusters and how they've come about and how they have to make money, blah, blah, blah. They were talking about Die Hard and said they knew that the idea had come full circle and kind of been worn out by the time someone said, what about Die Hard, but in a building?
Yeah.
Wait, did you also just make a sudden death reference, the Jean-Claude Van Damme film?
I sure did.
Where he's in the igloo?
I sure did. That was, what was the villain's name in that one? He was later on in the Sin City movies.
It wasn't Powers Booth.
It was.
Was it? It was Powers Booth?
Yes, it was Powers Booth.
Who has done a terrific job on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. recently. A terrifying run on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
He is, that's when I started looking at villains in a very different way.
He's
Powers
a cool,
Booth,
super weirdo villain.
He was and wearing a tuxedo at a hockey game. I was loving it.
Oh, and he's in that great, the Brandon Lee film that he made before The Crow, the name of which escapes me, but is a really fun action film, is the one that you watched and went, oh, he's got a ton of charisma and he's going to be a huge star forever. And he played the cop who helped, I think the character's name was Jake that Brandon Lee was playing, but Powers Booth's character's name was Mace Ryan, and he just sounded like, for years I'd be like, my name's Bullet Testosterone, because it just sounded like that kind of name.
Mace Ryan.
Mace Ryan. I mean, come on.
All right, so as we're looking at the action-adventure Western category, we've got on the table, is it fair to say that we currently have the Indiana Jones trilogy, Die Hard, Pirates, anything else that I think, Nathan, why are you angry at Pirates, first of all? And
that's just a giant, someone said to me, I'm just going to summarize Pirates 2 for you.
This is another physical bit, listeners.
Yeah.
He still did it audio. That was
just
good
imagine me trying to keep my balance on a giant running ball.
Yeah.
And I said, you're not far from it.
It is Johnny Depp jumping the shark.
It's also one of those times where they say, we made a huge amount of money with this first movie. That was not bad. It's pretty charming. Everybody liked it, and everybody liked what Johnny Depp was doing, and I'm one of them. And then they said, we know we're making a third, so don't even end the second one.
And yeah. But that's the problem that all of these movies have, or a lot of these trilogies have, where the second movie is not as good as the other two. Temple of Doom is not as good as Last Crusade and Raiders. Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest isn't as great, but that series ends with that Maelstrom fight at the end. Captain Jack and Davy Jones, Tentacle Beard, fighting on the yardarm as the two ships are fighting each other in a giant storm is one of my all-time favorite action sequences in a movie.
Is it better?
Why are you looking at me like that,
I'm just listening. I'm just listening and looking at you.
For those people listening at home, there may have been a little judgment in that.
Quiet judgment.
That's a beautiful. You can't argue that is not a beautiful scene.
Why are we not talking about Mad Max?
That's a good point. I liked Mad Max.
The Road Warrior, I remember, I said, oh my God, I have to drop, what is going on?
For me, that's the best, and that's the best of, which is a weird one. I feel like Road Warrior is the best of the three. I saw, to be perfectly honest, and don't give me that, you never saw, of the original Mad Max.
Okay.
And you're not missing much. Right. I've seen it because I loved the other two movies, and I've seen it. It's a low-budget Australian independent film with kind of a spooky story with a villain who has eyeshadow. He's it's a little bit homoerotic, and he's got eyeshadow, and he winds up being the villain in the most recent Mad Max, the remake.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Which is
Fury Road
amazing.
is
And
one
I'm
of the coolest
so
movies of the
happy
year.
about that movie. I'm so happy he came back to do that. He was the original villain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. But Mad Max, the first movie, it's good. It's good. It's weird. It's stringy. But Road Warrior is fantastic.
And Tina Turner.
Constantly make Tina Turner references from Road Warrior. I constantly do.
Our producer, Ken Plume, has posited that the song We Don't Need Another Hero, which comes from Thunderdome, can be transitioned into from any song on Earth.
Whoa.
So you could say happy birthday to you, 'cause we don't need another hero. It works. Try it at home, any song. Pick a song. Does not matter. It works.
I am very fond of saying at random times, opportune times, Master Blaster runs bar to town. Mr. Raggedy Man. Yeah.
But would you bring it out over any of these others? I mean, we need to talk about it, obviously.
Sure.
I was really happy with Bourne Identity.
Yeah, those are great.
Less with Supremacy and Ultimatum. One of those kind of things where they shake the camera so much and they're so close I can't see what's going on.
Yeah.
Which was the one that had that amazing, amazing shot of Jason Bourne jumping from a second-story balcony or a third-story balcony into a second-story window and the steady cam following him.
I think that's the second.
Was that the second movie?
So.
That is one of the coolest shots in cinema history, and I have to give a shout out to that.
One of the most amazing, I think, fights that I was so excited about. I don't know that it was an amazing fight, but Jason Bourne knows there's something going on in the apartment building. He's got a sense that something's not right, and he picks up a knife, but he drops it, doesn't want to alarm the girl, and then someone breaks through the window, and he pulls out a pen. Remember they were in office? Yeah. And he pulled out a pen and he was going pop, 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 pop. He was popping this guy, tuk, and put it right in the top of his fist. Oof. Like, he had to pull it out. And then, I found that just really super.
Anything else coming out of here? Rush Hour's a blast. Mariachi Trilogy's a blast. El Mariachi made for $7,000. The dolly that they used for that movie was a tripod duct taped to a wheelchair. Like, that movie is great. The reason that everybody only got shot in the chest in that movie was they made a squib system out of a weight belt and firecrackers, and that's the only place they could put it. So anybody that gets shot in that movie gets shot dead center of their chest. Wow. Because that's the only way that Rodriguez could rig it up.
I love that kind of guerrilla style filmmaking.
Oh, it was great. Those movies were so fun. When Carlos Gallardo was not on screen, he was the DP. So he would be, he was shooting the scenes with the villain, and then when it was the hero's turn, they would turn it around, and the villain would be the one behind the camera.
I have a lot of respect for that trilogy. Mm-hmm. It's not my favorite.
That's fair. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But
I would have to say Raiders of the Lost Ark changed my life. Mm-hmm. I had a fedora.
Sure.
After that. Temple of Doom, not so much, but Last Crusade, I think they really caught the ball they dropped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally don't think they dropped it in Temple of Doom. But what do I know? I like the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy. How dare you? That was a pretty dead-on Price is Right. It just needed those extra two little, like, tenor trumpets at the end of that.
The same sadness was conveyed via that trumpet noise.
All right, so do we have who's coming out of that category? Is it Indiana Jones?
I think it's Indiana Jones.
I think it better be, right?
Yeah.
So here is where we stand.
Yeah, we did mention, just to throw it out there and eliminate it before we recorded, the Dollars trilogy, which is Fistful of Dollars, A Few Dollars More, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That's more, those films are lumped together because they're all Sergio Leone and Clint Eastwood and Ennio Morricone. And Lee Van Cleef is in.
It bothers me that every line is looped.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It gets a little hard to watch after a while.
It's also not a full.
It's like, you're not trying very hard. Even, I don't know. I mean, I get it's an old movie, but guys.
Yeah.
Still making movies with the lips match.
You could do it. It's not just roll the film just like an inch, not even an inch, a little bit, you can do it.
Yeah. Having spent a lot of time in a booth with Hal replacing swear words, for movies for their TV edits.
Oh, really?
In a previous life. It's not hard to just match up the mouth and the voice.
No.
All right. So here is where we stand right now. Time for the grand finale of the episode. We pick one ultimate winner, and I'll tell you how we do this in a second. So far, going into the finals, Godfather got a pass. Captain America, Back to the Future, Lord of the Rings. We've got the Evil Dead trilogy, and you can tell which ones I didn't circle with a pen. And what was it? Oh, the Indiana Jones trilogy. Mm-hmm. So those are the 6 that we have going in. Do we want to save anyone? Do we want to save Star Wars, or is it just going to get beaten later since it's already got beaten once? Because the way we're going to do this is one at a time. We're going to go around and eliminate one until there is only one left. Right?
Yep.
So that said, are we happy where we are right now?
I think we've done a good job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, part of me wants to bring back Star Wars, but I know it's just going to get eliminated later on. So I don't want to have my heart broken twice. You know, at that point, you're just putting it on the podium to say it was there.
I don't want to give the impression that Star Wars was not a huge deal to me in my life.
Yeah.
It was an amazing, amazing thing.
So should we put it in? Are we going to fill the wild card spot, I guess?
We have a wild card spot. Are we going to fill it?
Let's put Star Wars back in.
All right.
Let's do that. Because
it's in there.
Okay.
We have to honor that.
So there are 7 movies. There are 7 trilogies in this. Yes. So let me write down the 7 trilogies. Evil Dead, Indiana Jones, Captain America, Back to the Future, Godfather, Lord of the Rings, and Star Wars. We are going to go around and each eliminate one at a time. And I will begin with, I realize this may seem like sacrilege because we gave it a bye to the finals. I'm eliminating the Godfather trilogy.
Wow.
Because of Godfather 3.
Okay.
The Godfather is an amazing movie. Godfather Part 2 is an amazing movie. The Godfather saga, when you watch them on television and they rearrange the movies so that they are in chronological order. If you've never seen that, it is a blast. But that said, The Godfather 3, not a great movie, doesn't make for a compelling trilogy of films.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll throw in there just so you don't feel like you're alone on an island. My parents, on one of their early dates, went to see Godfather 2 in the theater, not having seen the first one. They were confused and walked out. Now, I think Godfather 2 is the best film of the 3, but it only is a great film if you've seen the original Godfather. Otherwise, you have no idea what's happening. Right. And I think that is what ultimately, I mean, it deserved its bye to the finals, but I think that's ultimately another thing that is sort of a strike against it.
Mm-hmm. Hal?
Okay, I'm going to eliminate the Evil Dead.
I was going to do that.
I'm sorry to take that away from you.
That's all right.
They're great films, but I think there are better trilogies in there.
I agree. If I had to say I'm only going to watch 3 movies for the rest of my life, that wouldn't be the 3.
Right. That's another good.
I do love those movies.
Yeah. That's a
What's
good
left?
stick.
We have Indiana Jones, Captain America, Back to the Future, Star Wars, and Lord of the Rings.
I'm going to take out Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay. Star Wars is done. So now I'm looking at Lord of the Rings, Back to the Future, Captain America, and the Indiana Jones trilogy. It's so
I hear you. We got some really good.
We've got some great.
There.
That is just dead air. That is death on a podcast.
But you're not saying the other ones are bad.
I'm not saying that anything is
if
bad.
If you had to ditch one, you have to ditch one. We're on a life raft.
Yeah,
you can only take so many movies.
Yeah, and for the people listening, if you listen to this show, and this is what makes it so hard.
Yeah, it is brutal what we are doing right now.
This is, you have to sometimes let your favorites go, which in this case might be the Star Wars trilogy, in favor of finding what is the best. So remember that at home. That's a free lesson from Uncle Hal.
The more you know.
Rainbow.
Even though I did like the second one, in addition to the others as well, I can see where it had its flaws. And I love Indiana Jones, but I'm going to pull Indiana Jones out of the mix.
Okay.
Hal, it is to you. You have 3 choices. Lord of the Rings, Back to the Future, and Captain America.
Okay. Now, this may be colored, and you guys can argue and talk me out of it if you want. but I've not read the books, so I don't have as strong a tie to the Lord of the Rings films. Back to the Future, very impactful on me, and I feel like that trilogy, it's almost like one continuous film that you can watch, which any good trilogy is. Really, all the ones that are left sort of fit that mold. I love the Captain America films, and what I love about them is the fact that they keep getting better, and they started great. I love the Lord of the Rings films. I believe it is the only one left that has won a Best Picture Oscar.
Yep.
But for me, I love the other two so much more. All right. This is me getting confused with what I love with what may be the best. So I'm going to eliminate Captain America.
Okay. All right. It comes down to, and we timed this just right. It is your decision, Nathan. That was, before when I paused and went, should I start? I should start this. We are giving you the final decision, and the greatest movie trilogy of all time is either the Lord of the Rings trilogy or the Back to the Future trilogy.
But whatever you decide, we back you up 100%.
100%.
So it's not solely on your shoulders. We share this.
What were my choices again?
Ladies and gentlemen, listening.
It was Back to the Future, and what was the other
Back
one?
to the Future and Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. Okay. Obviously some amazing filmmaking going on with Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the second of Back to the Future trilogy was flawed. The second one was flawed.
Yes.
But as far as how the movies moved me, I'm going to have to say the best trilogy is the Back to the Future trilogy. Which kind of sounds, now that I said it out loud, all those movies we had, this is really kind of, really?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's anticlimactic.
It's tough.
But that's how it sometimes rolls.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
That's how it happened, folks.
So let me say this. People of the world.
Join hands.
Join hands.
Form a love train.
Love train. People. There's so many movies out there you can watch. So many different genres.
So many.
Great series.
Great
sagas.
Saga.
Film with a sequel. 3 of them make a trilogy. Oh, thank goodness. I thought the echo broke. So many great trilogies out there. And really, you could take most of the ones on this list, not Big Mama's House, and enjoy them as 3 films. Maybe not a lot of the other ones, but
like Making Sweet Love to a Woman.
Like Making Sweet Love to a Woman, there's only one great film trilogy that stands above the rest.
Only one.
And we don't need roads to watch it. So rev your brain up to 88 miles an hour, whether you're in a DeLorean or a train that was somehow built that later on could fly. Don't ask about it. It's the end of the movie. Jeez, aren't you happy?
1.21 gigawatts.
Yeah.
Oh.
Before we knew that it was pronounced gigawatt.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I've got a 4 gigabit hard drive.
The best film trilogy of all time is Back to the Future. Asked and answered.
Yes.
Nathan.
This is applause for Back to the Future and for Nathan Fillion, our special guest.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thanks for having me drive downtown in terrible traffic to sit in this hot, sweaty little box with you guys.
Yeah, you're
That's
welcome.
why we love you. Tell everybody where can they find you? What do you want them to check out? Get on the promo train, brother.
Let me see. Listen, guys, I'm unemployed. So if there's any potential employers out there listening, now's your time. Call me. I'll be, my next thing I think is going to be, I did a little piece called the Santa Clarita Diet.
Okay.
With the lovely Drew Barrymore and Tim Oliphant. Really nice people. Did a nice little thing with them. And then next you'll see me on Modern Family.
Very cool.
Thanks.
We're very excited.
Awesome. Yeah. Nathan is, listen, all the filmmakers out there within the sound of my voice, Nathan Fillion, who we've had the honor of working with for several years on the Thrilling Adventure Hour, is not only the charming and talented actor you see on screen, but it's very difficult when you meet people who are celebrities because you're more often than not let down because you have an idea. No, you do. You have an idea of who they are. And it's difficult sometimes because they're people and not everybody is the nicest, of people. But Nathan is so kind and so generous and, is a really quality human being. And that that is the person you want on your set.
Your turn.
Plus, he's really good in the movies.
That's a wrap, guys.
Do you like movies? Put Nathan in your movie. This is our new mini podcast. Put Nathan in your movie.
Put Nathan in your movie, you guys.
What kind of movie you making? Musical?
Just make a movie with Nathan in it.
He could be a cowboy or he could be a dinosaur. He's Nathan. Guys, so put him in your movie.
So this topic's been covered, but there are many more topics that we can reach out and talk about.
Tell them where.
All right, I'm done. My voice just stopped doing it.
Fine.
That is one more topic covered, and thank you, Nathan, for covering it with us. There are many more topics to discuss, and you can find them and add more to the list. Reach out to us at We Got This Tweets or on the Maximum Fun subreddit. There is probably a flame war happening right now.
May I add a topic to the list?
Yes.
Driving songs.
Ooh. Oh,
driving songs. Could be a road trip. Could be I got to get jazzed. I'm on my way to work. Could be I'm going home.
All right.
That episode coming soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you can't be in person with us like Nathan is, you can reach us on Facebook at facebook.com/We Got This Podcast or via email at WeGotThisPodcast@gmail.com. Thank you, guest producer Christian Duenas. Always the best. He's always there whenever we don't know something. He's looking it up and then saying it into our ears because he's an angel from heaven who sits on our shoulders as we record. Thank you to our everyday producer and great guy, Ken Plume. Thank you to researcher Kate McManus, to QA engineer Jen Alba, and graphic designer Uri Kelman.
And thanks, as always, to Mike Furman and Jonathan Dinerstein for our award-winning theme song and score, respectively. And, of course, thanks to you, our listeners. Thanks for turning off your movie trilogies just long enough to listen to us talk about them. Thanks for giving me and Hal an excuse to BS with each other and our friends every week for your oral pleasure. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin. And don't worry, everybody.
We got this.
We got this.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture. Artist owned.
Listener supported.